Hello. In this lesson, we'll look at the round and revolved holes command. If you'd like to follow along, please go into your sample folder, into chapter 1, and open the file named round and revolved curves. So here we have just a very basic plain shape, and we're going to go ahead and add some features into this shape. Now we can find the round and revolved holes command under the solid menu, solid edit tools, under holes, or we can go to our toolbar, solid tools. I'll pull this off. Let me drag that out and stretch it so we can see everything. And we have our whole dialog boxes along here. So first, let's just go ahead and put in the round holes. So that's this icon here. We'll click that, and it's asking us for a target surface. We'll select this. And if we look up at the command line, you see we have depth equals 1. We have the radius. So a drill point angle of 180 degrees gives you a completely flat bottom to the hole, whereas if we change this to, say, a 45, and I'll zoom in just a little here, you can see now we have this point showing up on our little drill hole. And let's make that a little bit larger. We'll make that a 5, and you see that's much easier to see now. And we'll make that 180 degrees. Currently the depth is set to 1, so it's going to create a hole with a depth of 1 millimeter. I can put these anywhere on this surface that I want, just like this, just by clicking, and I stay in the command as I'm working too. Or if I have some things on the surface I'd like to align to, like this control point, I can add a point there. I can also adjust this while I'm working, so if I want to set the rest of these holes to holes that go all the way through, I can just click on through equals yes. And now you can see the icon or the preview has changed. I can go ahead and change the radius as well. So you can update it for each individual hole you're working on. And I can snap to the end of lines as well. Let's give that a drill point angle of, say, 90 degrees. And we'll switch through to no. I'll just click that there. And we'll click that there. And once I'm finished adding the holes in here, I can hit enter to apply the command, and now you see the holes that we've created. So if we kind of look down a little bit, you can see these are the holes with the 45-degree angle in them. And then these are my through holes. Let me switch that to ghosted view. Maybe that'll make that a little easier to see. So we have the 45-degree and the through holes that carry all the way through the object. So that's nice if you just want to make round holes, but a lot of times you want to have a hole that has a very specific profile to it. So let me go ahead and undo this command. And even though there's multiple holes on there, we really stayed in the command the whole time, so one undo gets rid of everything. I'll switch on this layer named Profile Curves. Let me switch to my shaded view here. So you can see we have these 3 curves if I look in the top view. So these are going to be the cross sections of the holes I'm going to put into this planar surface. And we do that using the revolved hole command. So I can click on this. It's asking me to choose a profile curve. And now this part's a little tricky. What this is asking for is a curve base point. And wherever I click here, this will be the point that the profile is drawn through the surface that we tell it to. So if I were to click here, then that means only from here down would actually be cut into the object. If I click here, then from here down would be the portion of the curve cut into the object. If I click here, it's going to put the whole profile going this way into the object. So I'll go ahead and click there. Now it asks me for a target face, and I'll just click on here. Now this looks a little strange to me, and what it's done is it's actually flipped my profile curve upside down. So it's actually going to put this shape in there, the reverse of what I wanted it. But that's no problem. I can just go ahead and click flip on the toolbar. And now you'll notice it's changed that profile. And if I bring the camera down this way, you might be able to see it a little bit better. So again, I can put these anywhere on the surface I want. And I can just kind of keep adding them. Or I can snap to a specific point, like a midpoint, an actual point, or an endpoint, or any other of those options that I might have. Before I hit enter and accept this, I can click undo and get rid of the last hole. Now the thing to remember, in this command you can only get rid of the very last hole. You don't have unlimited undos like you do in a lot of commands. So once I'm happy with what I have, I can hit enter, and that's applied those all. So if we look down into these, you can see those have the profile of that first curve. Let me show you what I was talking about when I said the base point is very important. So if I select that curve again, and instead of selecting this as my base point up here, I'm going to choose down here. So now only from here down will be actually drilled into my surface. So if I flip this and click, now it does show me the whole profile, and the reason it's doing that is it's still using the whole profile, but if I bring the camera down, you can see only a portion of that profile is actually being shown inside the surface. And I can flip the axis. And now it's going to put a point from here going that way into the surface. So I can make a deeper hole, and it has the profile of that curve. So that's the lower portion, the smaller imprint. And then that's the other direction on that profile curve. Let me switch to the shaded view, then you can kind of see the difference. So you have this section compared to this section where it actually has that rounded portion, and then these holes just have the rounded portion in them. Let's go ahead and undo that twice, and that'll get rid of all of that. And we'll do the same command, this time using this profile. So for my curve base point, I do want to choose this end, and this is my cross section. I'll just go ahead and put those there. I should switch to shaded mode. You can see those are all in there. And ghosted, you can see all the little ripples in the cross section showing up. You can also use a profile that has a greater depth than your object. So if I look at this and under drafting, I'll go ahead and measure this. So that has an 8.98 millimeter length. And I'll go to the front viewport, and you can see we have a 6.38 height of my box. So if I take that object, I'll do the revolve command, curve base point, target surface, and snap here and here. You can see that it's actually cutting a hole all the way through this object. I'll hit enter on that and shade it. So you can see that profile, because it was longer, it went all the way through the object. But if I take that same command and put the base point here in the middle, you can see rather than cutting a hole, it's added that lower portion of the profile. If I switch to ghosted, you can see that a little clearer. So now that hole only comes halfway down, because we selected from here down as the profile that will get embedded in there. So with the revolved and round hole command, that gives you a very powerful tool in your arsenal that you can go ahead and add details such as screw bosses and all sorts of nice little details that can really make your model sing. And that concludes our look at the round and revolved hole command.